we went into that at the time, but we didn't specifically want to get that we come back up. Is that right? Because that would be too specific.
Oh, perfect. Okay, thank you.
In principle, the idea of the story, we can be going forward that one.
I'll be talking to you a little bit more specifically when I.
No, I get that, but for the week, would you be comfortable?
All right. Awesome. Morning, everyone. Welcome to our Strategy, Operations and Finance Committee meeting of the 8th of August. Welcome to councillors, community board members, our mana whenua partners, staff and also community representatives. No mai haere mai. Kim, am I okay to pass over to you to do a karakia or the council blessing? Whichever one you feel you want to. Aroham.
Kia ora tātou, nau mahara mai. Me karakia tātou. Ia mātou e whiriwhiri ana i ngā taki kei mua ia mātou aroaro. E pono ana mātou ka kaha tonu ki te whakapai māhara. Hua pai mō ngā hāpari i mahi nei mātou. Me kaha hoki mātou katoa kia whaihua, kia tōtika tō mātou mahi. Mā te maia te tiro whakamua me te hihiri, ka taia te arahi i roto i te kotahitanga me te aroha.
Kia ora, Kim. Thank you. Ngā mihi. Apologies, I have not been made aware of any. Declarations of interest relating to items on the agenda have also not been made aware of any. So we come to item number 5, public speaking time for items relating to the agenda. So Mike Johnson, I'd like to invite you up to the table. Speaking to the Kapiti Destination Story Report. You have 5 minutes total. We'll give you 5 minutes total, but yeah, if you could get through what you want to say nice and quickly and succinctly, we'll have time for some questions as well. So over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for allowing me to address this council meeting. You will recall that I presented a paper on tourism some months ago and it was well and encouragingly received. I've now received a report from your tourism sector and some of the inclusions I believe need to be very carefully looked at. In my earlier paper, I mentioned that we are paying too much reliance on Wellington City being the main source of visitors to Kapiti. My paper suggested that we should also need to look at to the north, Wanganui, Palmerston North, Otaki, which is of course part of Kapiti. You will have received by now a paper from your own tourism committee suggesting that our coast name is changed from Kapiti to the capital's coast. This I must most emphatically disagree with. This negates any promotion that were recommended to our northern neighbours, and it will confuse the general market. It will remove an easy understanding of our location and be detrimental to future destinational marketing and make us solely reliant on Wellington, which in its present economic state is not a wise move. We could lose our national identity as well. And in addition, you obviously have, besides the Kapiti coast, you have the Mana coast and you have the Porirua coast and you have all the other destinationals calling themselves coast as well. To suddenly just make us as per this paper, I think is very, very wrong. I could go on, but I'm restricted to time of 5 minutes now. It was 3 minutes when I was told, so there's a bonus, guys. The whole report from your tourism committee needs to be completely and carefully and fully reviewed. Thank you for listening.
Kia ora, Mike. Thank you for making time to come and speak with us and also for your work and expertise in this area, sharing that with the table. Are there any questions from the committee? Councillor Wilson.
Thanks for that. That's you find a ready ally, I have to say, with your thinking. In terms of the tourism market, what do you think should be the aiming point for Kapiti? Is there a specific audience we should be aiming at, do you think?
Yes, I think you've got to start looking at the international market. I have mentioned in my last report that I have a friend of mine in Holland who sends people down to Kapiti on a very regular basis, and he used my property in Rotorua as the follow-on from here. So I met all his guests as well after that. And I contacted him just a couple of weeks ago to say, are you still selling Kapiti? And he assures me that he is. It's a very, very popular sales thing for the overnight on Kapiti Island, getting close to our bird life and all the rest of it. and it can be enlarged upon in cooperation with the people that live in the northern end of the. And I would love to attend a meeting with them, with council, and just talk about what's going on. I have been over there, but not for about the last 3 years.
Thank you. Yep.
Councillor Coe.
Thanks for coming along today, Mike. One of the reasoning we were given by the consultants around the choice of Capitals Coast was that it gave us some uniqueness because no one else can really. Well, the thought was that there's a bit of a space there, if you like, a vacuum for that positioning, and no one else can really claim to be the Capitals Coast in the way that we can. So I'm just wondering if we were to move away from that, do you have any thoughts about what can we claim by way of uniqueness for this district in terms of our brand? What makes us unique?
The island, to begin with, and the tours over there, which is of appeal to the international market as well as the domestic market. You need, I think, some more accommodation, particularly in the motel category. You've got one lodge, and I think there's about 2 motels, and you've got the Southwood operation, which is a big draw card over here. I've been to 2 conferences at Southwood now in the last few months, with about 200 to 300 people attending each of those conferences. So there's a market there alone to be used to promote that and to get involved in cooperation with them. It's not. I don't think it's up to the council to start doing that type of thing, but there's some ways and means of getting around some of that with advertising support or promotional support, and going for some of the conferences that are readily available to the marketplace to ascertain.
So if you were to summarise it in one kind of tagline to replace the Capitals Coast, do you have any thoughts of what that might be? And bearing also in mind that Kapiti Island has very restricted numbers in terms of how many people can go there. So
You're looking for a byline.
well, yeah, it's just something that is in the way that, like, if we're going to move away from the Capitals Coast, that is a kind of a tagline, if you like, for our brand. Do you have any thoughts around what could form the basis of a tagline if we were to move away from that?
I think just the word Kapiti Coast is sufficient on its own. If you're coming away from that, I think that is the wrong move. It identifies you as a location. It identifies you as part of the Wellington area because of its proximity. It's on the coast. You've got great beaches. You've got a wonderful number of parks here for kids. My grandchildren love coming to stay with us and going to the various parks and things like that. You've got a resoundingly supportive community, as you can see from the local domestic papers. You need to get involved a little bit more with the international scene, and there's ways and means of doing that, but I don't think time is going to allow me to go into that to any large degree. Otherwise, I'll get told off from.
Oh, you saw my red
her
light
down
come on. Super observant. I did just press my button in the hopes that we could start to move the kōrero along a little. We're going to just take Councillor Coford, one really brief question, and then Councillor Cooper, again, just one question, and then we'll keep moving. Thanks, Councillor
Thank
Coford.
you. Thank you, Sophie. And Mike, thanks for coming. No, I agree entirely. Back in the 60s and 70s, we were the Golden Coast, and that morphed into a very successful Kapiti Coast, and I think it should stay. And I agree, we need more destinations up here. We're working on getting Otaki Forks reinstated.
Sorry, Councillor Coford, a question?
No question, just a comment.
Oh, okay, thank you. Councillor Cooper.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I see the capital, when I see Capitals Coast, I think of Red Rocks, the south coast of Wellington. They've got quite a well-developed coastline in terms of their tourism strategy for Wellington. So do you think the Capitals Coast is confusing and points people north, or what would be your view?
I don't think it's a name at all. Wellington is the capital. We don't belong to the capital as per se. We're an individualised area, and we should be retaining our name as a point of reference for people to come here. We need to promote what we've got. We've got to promote the conferences and and as I said, we need more accommodation, but it's got a great future. You've got the island, you've got wonderful beaches, you do very well with your trade shows and things like this, and you're attracting people from all over. I talked to various people from Napier that I knew that were down here for the last show. So you're reaching out very, very well. But, there's still the Martinborough traffic too. You could match into that because they are an individual area as well on the same basis as you. But the mana and those other areas, with respect, don't have the same attractiveness to the marketplace, to the consumer, as you do and Martinborough do.
And just one very quick last question.
Very quick.
In terms of Kapiti Island, which has a very limited access for people because of the way the island's set up as a nature reserve. So are you thinking the island's a draw card? I think our beaches, particularly Waikanae Beach and Paraparaumu Beach, being the Paraparaumu Ward Councillor, but particularly Waikanae Beach is actually world class and is probably a bigger draw card than probably anything else here on the coast in terms of the beach and looking out to the island as opposed to the visitation, because that's quite limited. Would that be a fair, what would
Yes,
be your
it
view?
is. As I said, I know of a Dutch wholesaler that sends a lot of people to Kapiti Island for the overnight. I've met a number of his guests over the years, and they all say it's been the highlight of their trip to New Zealand. So there's a different market for the international market and also the domestic market. And yes, your beaches here and your parks and the children's activities and all the other things that you've got are of great appeal to the domestic market. And population-wise, you need to capitulate that as much as you possibly can.
Great. Thank you so much, Mike. That's all we have time for, but yeah, appreciate you coming
I'm always
along.
available.
Cool. Thank you.
I'll leave now.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Enjoy the
Mike.
rest of your meeting.
Thank you. Bye. Okay, now we are actually going to adjourn the meeting briefly for a 20-minute session with the Otaki Community Board. They have a brief presentation that they wanted to share, and then just 10 minutes of questions. I know it's a slightly abnormal process, but because it's not related to an item on the agenda, this was the way that we had to do it. So, but we will just contain this session, and the Otaki Community Board is aware of this, to 20 minutes. Yeah, thanks, Cam. So just adjourning, Soph and